AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
With Uber's new women preferences, women riders can request a woman driver whenever they want. Like Amy, who's traveling solo in a city she's never been to before. Or Danielle, who works night shifts at the hospital. Or Kelly and Jana, who were way overdue for a night out. Because sometimes comfort comes from having another woman with you. Request women drivers with women preferences on Uber. Learn more on the Uber app.
So you'll pick me up tonight at 7:45?
Oh, well, no, I got a few things to take care of first, but why don't we make it 7:45?
Stop it.
Okay, 7:45.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and how much time slipped through your fingertips last year? Let's make this year one to remember with time management researcher and expert Laura Vanderkam. Plus, we'll share an organizational problem many stackers are solving, proactively taking care of their messes so their kids and relatives won't have to clean it up later. How do you clean up your financial life? We'll share. And I know you're wondering, will Doug share some trivia with us today? Because you just asked, I'm going to bring it. And now, two guys who'd better be bringing the personal finance noise to the mics today. It's Joe and OG.
It's like old school, Doug. Bring the noise.
Bring the noise.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Sunday,
Welcome back.
Sunday.
Monster trucks and personal finance. All in one. Oh, pinch me. That'd be too fun. Welcome back to the Stacking Benjamin Show. You made it. You found us. Sit back and relax because you're about to experience, well, a fun hour of doing better with your money. And the guy who loves helping you do better with your money is here, Mr. OG. How are you, man?
Happy to be here. I got this new thing, protein cold coffee.
Really?
You guys tried this? Yeah.
Protein cold coffee. Good? Does it taste good?
They have lots of flavors. I just have the coffee flavored flavor.
You like coffee flavored coffee?
I do. Yeah, I'm a little Dennis Leary-y. But you mix it with a Fairlife, bada boom, bada bing, you've got 40 grams of protein in a coffee. It's like a protein coffee shake.
Wow. So it's healthy and it's coffee all in one.
Yeah, it's the year of efficiency. I'm just going to drink my food, get all of my protein and caffeine at the same time.
In fact, Doug, he's wearing a diaper while he podcasts, so he can accomplish
Obviously.
multiple things at one time.
You make that sound like he's only doing it while he's podcasting.
That he just started, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got a great show talking about efficiency. Laura Vanderkam knows that efficiency is not just about getting more random stuff done. Like without a vision, without knowing where you want to go, any road will get you there and you can get to nowhere faster with just efficiency. But Laura's about how do we get more done and be more present today? So I was super happy when we asked her late last year if she would help us kick off 2026 by giving us some great tips about our money, that she was available to do that. I was super excited. So Laura upstairs talking to mom. Of course, she not only has a great podcast of her own, we'll talk about that when we're with her, but she also has a couple of my favorite time management books. Tranquility by Tuesday. What a great name. And What the Most Successful People Do Before Breakfast. She's been on the show a couple times. Every time Laura is here, if you've never heard her, she always has something new and exciting to share. And I'm sure today's going to be no exception. So we're going to hear from her. But before that, Do you guys prefer 10 apps that do one thing each or one tool that handles 10?
I like the 10 because I like all the pretty little icons, like the cool colors and stuff on the icons on my phone.
Just spending time with each individual icon.
If you organize them the right way, you can kind of make like when you hold the phone way far away from your face, it kind of looks like a vague picture. I like
It's almost like origami.
Yeah.
It's just this beautiful thing. Well, finally, the team you've trusted with your money talks create a product to protect your credit, your identity, your privacy, so much more than 10 things. You know how much I like talking about insurances, having the right insurances, having the right emergency fund. This tool we call the Vault handles all your money security functions with one simple turnkey approach. You know, somebody's having a really bad new year because their credit's wrecked, their identity's been stolen. The Vault does so much more than protect against those things. You can run what-if scenarios before big purchases, cut unnecessary subscriptions, get off dark web list. We built it for us, but you can get the Vault too. StackyBenjamins.com/vault to take control and lock down your financial life. That's StackyBenjamins.com/vault. All right, we got a couple more sponsors who help us keep on keeping on. We're going to hear from them. And then the amazing Laura Vanderkam helps us kick off a great year of mentors in 2026. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy-to-use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow-knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, they're breathable, they're comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, "Love your pants." Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're flow-knit activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, that is my favorite sweater on you. It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. And I'm super happy she's here in the basement to help all of our stackers get organized in 2026. Laura Vanderkam's here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back in the basement.
Well, and it's funny, Laura, because when I say get organized, certainly time management is something you've been studying for a long time. For people that haven't heard the handful of times you've already been on Stacking Benjamins, when did you first get interested in time management?
Well, I realized something several years ago that is probably obvious, but perhaps we don't really think about, which is that we all have the same amount of time, right? Everybody on this planet has 24 hours in a day and 168 hours in a week. And various people have more advantages, and there's plenty of people who are smarter or richer or better looking than you and I are, but they don't have any more time. When you find people who are doing amazing things with their lives, both professionally and personally, it's not that they have access to extra hours that the rest of us don't. It may be that they're allocating their hours in interesting ways that the rest of us can learn from. So I've been fascinated by that topic and have spent the past, almost 2 decades now studying the schedules of people who do a lot with their time to see what I can learn.
It reminds me of early in my career, Laura. I had this mentor who said, you can take the easy way out and try to expand the time box, but at some point you're going to run out. And so it's much better to figure out how to reorganize the time box. When somebody tells me, though, that I don't have time, right? Especially this time of year, everybody around the holidays just ending or going, you know what? I don't have time. I don't have time. What are they really saying when they say, I don't have time?
Yeah, anytime somebody says to me, I don't have time, what I mentally hear is, it's not a priority. That may sound a little harsh, but in many cases, that is a perfectly adequate explanation for what is going on. Like whatever it is that you are saying you don't have time to do, if somebody offered to pay you $1 million to do it, it would probably rise up the hierarchy in your priority list quite quickly, right?
All of a sudden I have tons of time.
I have tons of time. Do you want to, make tiny little bows and handmade wrapping paper for, 4 dozen presents? I don't have time for that. Okay, I'll pay you $1 million to do it. Well, here I go. Let me get out the crafting scissors right now. So it's not that we don't have time. It's not high enough the priority list. And for many things, that is totally fine. But if we find ourselves saying that about things that are, in fact, priorities, well, maybe that's sort of a nudge to use that language and decide to reorder things and see if we can skip something else so that we can get to the things that matter most.
Well, I guess my follow-up would be if somebody then says, I'm busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Is that a badge of honor or is it really like a warning sign then? I think based on what you just said, it seems like it might be more of a warning sign.
I mean, it could be. We all like to say, I'm so busy. It's like the equivalent of fine. People say, how was your weekend? Busy. What does that even mean? I guess you did a lot with your time. That's very exciting. We like to let people know that there's a high demand for our time and hence busy is a way of saying how important we are. But, I'd like to use the word full as in, life is full. I'm spent my weekend doing many things that I enjoyed or something like that. If you're feeling busy in the sense of running around frantic, feeling constantly behind, not having time for the things, or the people that you want to spend time with, that's a different matter. And then I think we need to take a closer look at it.
Do the most productive people that you've researched, do they then track their time? Is that a place where we should start 2026?
I would highly recommend that anyone who wants to spend their time better try tracking their time to see where the time really goes. Because if you don't know where the time is going now and you want to spend your time better, how will you even know if you're changing the right thing? It might be something you thought was a problem really isn't. Maybe something you haven't even considered, taking more time than you thought. Same as any sort of business decision, like financial decision, you want to make sure you're working from good data. And the only way to get that data is to track your time. I'm not sure exactly when this episode is airing. I will be tracking my time publicly from January 12th to 19th if people want to do that along with me. I'm running an annual time tracking challenge.
Well, this will be next week. So next week.
All right, well, then we're good.
Fantastic.
So yeah, you can come check out lauravanderkam.com. I'll be posting my time logs there, and you can sign up to get daily motivational emails from me and a time log. But you don't have to do it then. Like, you can start right now if you want. I mean, you could start any day. But ideally, you would track your time for a week, because when you know where the time is going, then you can make better choices of how to spend your time. But even more encouragingly, I find that people often change the stories they are telling themselves about their time once they know where the time is going. We have all sorts of stories we tell ourselves, not all of which 100% accurate, but when we've got the data, then we can decide what we want life to truly look like.
I need to do this right now, because literally yesterday, as we're recording this, I said to somebody, you ever have one of those days when you get a lot of stuff done, but none of the stuff you really wanted to do? That was yesterday. Yeah, I look at the stack behind me and I'm like, wow, that's good. And then I look at the 3 things that were really priorities. They didn't get done. How do successful people turn that around then, so they make sure that none of that big stuff slips through the cracks?
One of the easiest things to do is to start with those things. The day has a way of getting away from us as it goes on, as the various emergencies stack up, as people are reaching out to you for your input on various things as they need responses. So one of the best things you can do is try not to even engage with the rest of the world until you've done the things that you need to do. I mean, obviously, sometimes we need to engage with the world to do the things we do.
But this would be why answering your emails at the beginning of the day is a mistake. Because now I'm off doing somebody else's work.
You're doing somebody else's priorities. So, and usually you don't even have to push it forward that far. Like if you've got 3 things you need to do and they're going to take a total of about 2 hours, starting to check email at, let's say, 10 a.m., you're going to be responsive the rest of the day. But now you're going to feel like you're on top of the world because you already climbed that mountain first thing. Whereas if you wait until 4 p.m. when you're finally frantically trying to get out of there and finish things up and you have to put in your 2 hours then, well, A, it's going to take longer than 2 hours because you're tired. But you're also spent all that time doing stuff that probably could have been compressed if you'd just been a little bit more judicious with your time.
I remember some great advice you gave me a number of years ago. You were studying some of the most successful women who were CEOs in positions of power and how they organized their day differently. And I still remember this. And when I do it, it helps my day so much. But you said that they start their day, not Monday morning like most people, they start it Sunday night, which I found that if I spend just a little bit of time on Sunday night getting that organization going, ever since you said that to me, it's helped so much.
Well, I'm glad that was helpful for you. I will challenge you. You might even try doing it Friday afternoon. Over the course of the past 10 years, I've sort of took those lessons to heart, and I would start organizing my life on Sunday night. And then I was like, well, why am I spending some of my weekend doing this? If I look at what I'm doing on Friday afternoon, usually during the workday, I have mentally checked out.
Totally guilty.
Yes. But even if we're not willing to start important stuff at like Friday at 2 p.m., you might be willing to think about what future you should do. And so taking a little time on Friday toward the end of the week to plan the next upcoming week, to think about what do I want to do over the next week? What is most important to me professionally? What is most important to me personally? Where can those things go? Are there any challenges or logistical problems I need to solve? Like, let me make sure that's all taken care of. You are repurposing time that just would have been wasted, but you are also going to make the entire next 168 hours go better.
That is fantastic, because I do think about my Friday afternoons, and instead of the slog that is anything I have to do Friday afternoon, this actually sounds fun. You know what I mean? Like now I'm looking big picture, which to me, and I think probably to a lot of people, is a ton more fun than, sending that last email to that person that I barely want to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you have a clearer sense too, and you can hit Monday running. You know what you're going to do Monday morning. And I find that planning on Friday actually helps with those Sunday scaries, because I was also realizing that one of the things that makes people who even like their jobs kind of dread Mondays is they know there's this huge pile of stuff waiting for them, but they don't know how they're going to deal with it. Whereas if you have planned your upcoming week on Friday, you know what you're doing. You know how you're going to deal with it. There may be a lot of stuff, but you've got a way to deal with it all. And then you can relax and not worry about it too much.
Well, the cool thing I found too is that my subconscious mind kind of works on it for 2 days while I'm busy having fun doing other things. Is there a big lie in all the research that you've done? Is there a big lie people tell themselves about time?
Well, there's a lie that's sort of a half truth. I mean, people have this idea that time is scarce, that time is a zero-sum game. Everything is a trade-off, one versus the other thing. And on some level, it is true, because there are only 24 hours in a day. There are only 168 hours in a week. But people are often surprised to see just how vast 168 hours truly is. Most people are not used to thinking of their time in terms of weeks, but that's usually a better way to think of it than a day, because a day is not representative of your life. I look at you on a Tuesday and I look at you on a Saturday. They look very different. And yet both of those days occur just as often. So we need a unit that encompasses both, and that would be a week. If I look at you for a week, I probably have a pretty good sense of what your time looks like. So a week is 168 hours. People often have these stories like, oh, I work full time, so I have no time for anything else. Well, a full-time job is 40 hours a week, in the United States usually. There are 168 hours in a week. So now we have 128 hours that are not spent at work. Some of those are spent sleeping probably, but if you sleep 8 hours a night, we've still got 72 hours for other things. This is a lot of time. It's pretty hard to tell ourselves that we have no time for anything else with this full-time job because, it's a full-time job, but we've got these 72 hours a week. People work more than that. People work 50 hours. Well, they've got 62 hours for other things. If they work 60 hours, they've got 52 hours for, it's still a lot of time. While on some level, yes, time is limited. The limits are so much bigger than what most people think. You can fit so much into a week. You can fit full-time work. You can fit a lot of family adventures. You can fit time for friends. You can fit time for sleep. You can fit time for your hobbies. You can fit time for, taking care of your own spiritual or emotional or physical health. There's so much you can do in a week. And so I really don't like the big lie that we have to make these hard trade-offs, right? That, if you have a full-time job, you'll never see your family. If you are trying to see friends and work and see your family, you will never sleep. That's so on it goes. There's time for all of it.
We've talked about the idea of a model week. I remember when I started my career and my mentors told me have a model week. But then as I became an entrepreneur, really my life is more in seasons, right? Where I've got a season where maybe I'm working hard on a book project, or I'm working hard on the podcast, or I'm working hard on something. Do you see one of these as more successful than the other, or is there kind of a time management system that works better than the other one?
I think this is definitely a know yourself kind of thing, because if your job does involve big long-term projects, and then times when you're not working on those big long-term projects, then yes, the weeks are going to look different when you're doing one thing versus another. On the other hand, I think we can probably construct an ideal week looking at all 168 hours, even without being terribly specific within the work bucket of it. Let's say that you decide I'm going to work 40 hours a week. I'm generally going to work them 8 to 4, right? Monday through Friday. I will be flexible with that, but that's generally when I think I'm doing work. Well, what about the rest of the time? What should that look like? Or even within those 8 hours a day, do I generally want to have my meetings and interactive time in the afternoon and sort of my individual heads down time in the morning? That's a rhythm that works for a lot of people's chronotypes. But that you could say on your ideal, or maybe I want to have lunch with somebody once a week. So that's going on my ideal week template, even if, that might be at a slightly different time if there's a huge project you're doing or, whatever. But you can still get a general sense of what a good week would look like for you, even understanding that it might be slightly different during different seasons.
Well, the follow-up to that is, like with money management, Laura, I've seen a ton of apps over the years. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them absolute garbage. Over the years at conferences, people have told me what works for them. Evernote, Todoist, all these different apps. Those things sit on my phone still today, and I don't use any of them. Are there apps that you really like? Are there any tools that you really like outside of a good calendar?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Is that a terrible thing to say? I know there are a million productivity apps, but
I can't make them work.
You can't. No, well, I mean, I'm a bit technologically challenged, so that's my first problem. The other problem with most productivity apps is that they are on your phone, and the cause of productivity is generally not helped by being on your phone more often, because you may go to the productivity app, but you don't stay there. You're there for 5 minutes and then you're like, ooh, I have more email. Let me go see what's there. My WhatsApp thread is lighting up with something, the kids' soccer team are debating whether the snacks have been too sugary this week. And then you're sucked into that. And then, you're over on Instagram because you got an alert that your friend posted a photo and you got to go weigh in. And so all of this has just eaten up time. So that productivity app would have to be really, really good. It would have to be saving you so much time to make up for all those transaction costs that, happened because you bothered to look at your phone.
Well, you've described this before to me, and this is another thing I've taken away from our discussions before. Like our time, well, not our time, our energy is a little like a battery. And man, you can kind of feel that battery running out over time.
Yeah, our energy is definitely something that goes up and down. I mean, time passes and then it's gone, but energy is renewable. While we have 24 hours in a day, not all hours are equally created for how much energy we have for various different things. I mean, most people are not going to write the great American novel at 10 p.m. I mean, some people will, but most of us are not going to do that. So it helps to be aware of your energy levels. And one thing you could do if you are tracking your time, you might also track your energy. You know, when am I feeling like I can conquer the world? When am I feeling like I would like to take a nap? What is the different spread between those things and the different things I do? Are some people that I'm meeting with particularly draining? I'm not saying you get out of it, but it's good to know, because then you can proactively take steps afterwards to boost your energy levels so you can get more done. If you know that you have a bit of an energy crash mid-afternoon every day, which is very normal, very human, what could you do for 10, 15 minutes mid-afternoon to boost your energy levels? For a lot of people, that might be getting outside, getting some physical activity. Maybe it's calling a friend or family member, getting coffee with a colleague whose company you actually like, you know, reading something inspirational, listening to motivational music. Like, it doesn't matter, but whatever it is for you, put that in, and then you won't be just flagging the rest of the day. You'll actually be able to do what you set out to do.
I feel like a lot of that advice, which I love, is about creating some momentum, just getting the momentum rolling again, get the heart beating again, getting moving again. If somebody listening is overwhelmed right now, which I think a lot of us find ourselves at the beginning of January, just overwhelmed. I got X number of hours in the day. I got 15 million things to do. What's the smallest change we could do that could begin to help us create some momentum?
So I really think the idea of planning on Friday afternoon is something that people should try. And it doesn't have to be Friday. Like, if you want to do Sunday, great. Do Sunday. You want to do Wednesday morning, more power to you. It does not matter when you do this. But having a regular weekly check-in where you step outside the flow of time and say, what would I like to do with my time? You know, what is on my plate? How am I going to deal with that? How can I carve out some space for anything else that I would like to see happen? But if you do this week after week and sort of set yourself limited but doable goals for the next week, and then check in a week later, did I do them? What do I want to do the next week? You will start to get a better sense of control of your life. Not all of life is plannable and things happen, but by at least thinking about how we'd like to spend our time, we vastly increase the chances that our time is spent on things that are a good use of the hours that we have.
Do you use some kind of planner for that, or do you just write it out?
You really can just write it out.
Yeah.
As with apps, the planner world is fun. There are many, many different kinds of planners, and some people do them all up with different colored markers and washi tape and all those good things. You do not have to do any of that. You need a system is what you need. You need a system and rituals and routines. You could do it in a cheap notebook from Target if you want, and that would be fine. But having some sense of knowing what you want to do over the next week and roughly when you are going to do those things can be life-changing.
As an older guy, I miss the days of my Franklin planner, Laura. I just miss that because that was the ritual time, right? I just open up the Franklin planner and go through it. But it clearly, to your point, is more about the time. I want to make sure we talked about the battery, which we did. You also talk a lot about this idea of time confetti, which I think is a good visual. What is time confetti and why should we be so afraid of it?
Well, this was an image from Bridget Schulte, who wrote the book Overwhelmed, and she talked about time confetti being these small chunks of time that a lot of modern life is cut up into. So, 5 minutes while you're waiting for a phone call to start, or, 10 minutes while you're waiting for the train, or, you're in the kitchen while waiting for water to boil for pasta for dinner, or your kid is sort of asleep and you're sitting outside their room, like making sure they're down. This is time that could be leisure time, but it is often very difficult to use it as leisure time because it comes in these tiny little chunks as confetti. It just winds up being a mess on the floor. You have to vacuum up later. But the thing is, I think we can actually harness some of our time confetti and use it for things that we find meaningful or enjoyable. We just have to be mindful about it and maybe even have like a list of things that you can do in your time confetti that are more enjoyable than, doom scrolling, which is what we tend to do at this time. So, you could text a friend, like you find yourself sitting outside your kid's room hoping they're going to sleep. Text a friend. he or she will text back. You'll have a nice little conversation. It'll be fun. If you're on your phone and don't want to do anything other than be on your phone, like look at old photos, right? It'll bring up memories. You'll say, oh, that was so awesome when we went to that beach. Hey, we should reach out to those people again and go to the beach this summer with that. It's you will just be so much more productive using the time for things like that. And, if you have a little bit more control over what you're doing, like you could go outside, you can do any of those things you would have done as a break to boost your energy levels, or, read in 5-minute chunks. If you have 6 5-minute chunks of time confetti during the day and you read for all of them, that's 30 minutes of reading a day, which is going to give you 3.5 hours of reading a week, which is about a book every week or two. Like that's not nothing at all.
I think about some of the tasks I set for myself during the day. Like as an example, tomorrow I'm having my carpets cleaned. That seems like I could make a list of time confetti tasks, like these things that I can do, because literally to book that appointment takes 5 minutes. So if I find myself with because invariably in the middle of a huge chunk of time, my brain will remind me, right?
Like, got to get that carpet cleaned.
Exactly.
Stop what you're doing right now. Urgent.
I should be in the middle of something super important and no, I'm going to book the carpet cleaner. This seems like that's a cool thing to do too.
Yeah, you can do that during your time confetti for sure. Although here's another idea for those little tasks. I actually think that batching the little things is sometimes wise too. So keep a running list of all those little tasks, like during the week as one occurs to you.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt your deep work time to do it, but just keep it on a list. And I call this like the later list, as in I'll get to it later. But then have a time, maybe like Friday afternoon where you have no energy for anything else. 2 to 3 p.m., just plow through that list. You're going to go fill out that permission slip. You are going to book that hotel. You are going to call the guys to get your carpet cleaned. You are going to, file that receipt that, you're going to get reimbursed for. You're going to do all of that in 1 hour, and you'll just be efficient because you're not going in and out. You're just doing all of it. You'll feel pretty good at the end of it, and you haven't contaminated the rest of your time with these tiny tasks.
Right. There's some techniques in financial planning, Laura, when I hear them as a guy who's done this for a long time, and somebody will bring it up at dinner or wherever, and I'll go, oh God, no.
Not that again.
No. But then I think, that I hear some of these ideas when it comes to time management, Pomodoro technique or whatever it might be. And I often wonder to myself, I'm like, I wonder what Laura Vanderkam would think about that. Are there any productivity hacks or habits that people bring up with you and you're like, oh God, please don't. No.
Well, I think one is doing too much the night before. This is a personal pet peeve of mine that people are like, well, I'm going to save time by getting everything ready the night before, right? Like I'll make all the lunches, I'll lay out the outfits, I'll have everything ready to go. It's like, okay, you haven't actually saved any time. You have rescheduled these chores, and you have rescheduled them from a time when you're going to have to plow through them because you got to get out the door to a time when you could have been relaxing and enjoying yourself. So you've just basically taken away your leisure time, and yet you still are going to have to get ready in the morning, right? Like people don't not get ready. They don't roll straight out of bed into the car just because they've packed a lunch the night before. Well, could you make it take less time? Like that's the first thing you could do. Like instead of having elaborate lunches, maybe everyone's lunch is incredibly modular. Like here's the 3 things that go in the lunch and it goes out the door. Or maybe we don't even have to make lunches. Maybe people can buy their lunch. Maybe people who are over 8 years old can make their own lunch if they would like a lunch. All these things could make it take less time. And then you don't have to just reschedule the chores. And, you're still going to get dressed. Like, why not just have a wardrobe where you have fewer things and you like all of them? And then you don't have to spend time the night before laying out your outfit, choosing it. You just, go with whatever's next kind of in the rotation. That's one of my personal pet peeves, spending too much time getting ready for things.
All my questions should be equal. That's what I couldn't wait to ask. It's like,
well, it's similar to like cooking for the week on Sunday, right? I find that because I've seen a lot of time logs now. And there are people who do this and they're convinced that they are saving themselves time and energy and making life go smoothly during the work week. But the problem is people who cook on Sunday for the week still spend time cooking during the week. Like that lasagna you froze on Sunday, you're going to have to thaw it on Tuesday to cook it on Wednesday. It's going to be cooking. You're going to be in the kitchen while it's cooking, doing something, right? Like, you could have just had a rotisserie chicken from the supermarket and a bagged salad. And then you would have saved time and not have lost your Sunday.
It's amazing how we can suck all the joy out of our life and call it productive.
It's so true.
If only there were a podcast out there, Laura, where if somebody talked about this, Maybe they looked at work-life balance, career development, those types of things. God, I wish somebody had a podcast about that.
They should think of that. They should think of that for
That
sure.
would be great. What's going on? Speaking of the Best of Both Worlds podcast featuring Laura Vanderkam, what's coming up in 2026?
Yeah, well, Best of Both Worlds is going great. My co-host Sarah Hart Unger just had a book come out called Best Laid Plans. So if you're looking for a more detailed system on how to plan your life, you should definitely check that out. She is a very productive person, practicing physician, mom of 3, co-hosts the podcast, runs another podcast, teaches courses, all that good stuff. I have a book coming out in May called Big Time.
Awesome.
It's a simple path to time abundance. And it's a quirky book. It's all my favorite topics in time management thrown together. You're going to like it.
I can't wait. Can we have you back then?
We can totally come back. I would be happy to be back anytime.
That'd be so awesome. We'll link to Best of Both Worlds, by the way, if you want to get a head start on 2026. And of course, go to lauravanderkam.com to follow her as you, Laura, are going to be tracking your time. That's so cool. Last question, which is, beginning of the year, we're really working on money mindset and we're thinking about mindset. If somebody needs one mindset shift as we say goodbye here and we're kicking off 2026, what's the mindset shift to really begin to get our hands around better time management this year?
I think just remembering that it is your time and you can be intentional about it. And yes, the world has all sorts of things that it throws at us, many of which we cannot control. But even if we can't control everything, we can control some things, right? We have the ability to read for 30 minutes at night instead of doom scrolling, right? We have the ability to go for a walk for 10 minutes instead of rereading that email that you have already read 3 times. We can make small choices with our time that make life feel more meaningful, more joyful. So even if you can't control everything, focus on what you can control, be intentional about that, and I promise that your time will start to feel a lot better.
Hi, it's Chuck Jaffe, and every day while I'm living the money life, I'm also stacking Benjamins.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and I gotta tell you, I love it when Laura Vanderkam is here. I feel so organized and ready to attack this year. But as Joe always says, the best battle is the one that's never fought. Pretty sure he was the one who made that saying famous. So I was thinking, what created all of these time management problems in the first place? Yeah, that's right. It's the damn calendar. That's the problem. If you want to blame anyone for your time management issues, I'd start with Pope Gregory XIII, who created a new calendar that he said would make things better for all of us. Not true, Greg. Not true. You could have put more hours in a day or more days in a year, but all you did was reorganize things so February gets short-shrifted and other months get like 31 days. What the hell, man? So here's today's question. What is the egotistical name Pope Gregory gave to his so-called better calendar that we still use today? I'll be back right after I go try to explain to Joe's mom what a leap year even is. That crazy Gregory.
Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Calendar Watcher and guy who's wondering why September is the 9th month when sept means 7. That's right, I'm angry about it too. Today, we're railing on the true person responsible for the chaos in your life. Clearly not you, so you can relax, because it's so much more fun to blame someone else, especially when they were born like way before you. Pope Gregory XIII. In the ultimate egotistical move, egotistical? Yeah, that's right, I said it. What? I think he might have only had one. What did Pope Gregory call his new, better calendar that we still use today? He called it the Gregorian calendar. So from now on, I'm calling this the Dougie Trivia segment. And now, back to two guys who don't need inventions like leap money to make your cash work better. It's Joe and OG.
I do love that. And by the way, it's Gregory 13. Believe it or not, that XIII means 13, Doug.
Well, why wouldn't they just use the number 1 and the number 3?
You could have done that easier too. What the hell's going on with this guy?
Guy's messing it all up.
It does strike me as funny that they're like, hey, Greg, your calendar's got a problem like every 4th year. He's like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to fix that. We're just going to throw an extra day in there. You know,
it's no big deal.
Duh. It's how you do it.
Guess I got to fix everything around here, said Gregory.
Big thanks to Laura Vanderkam. And I have to say, guys, that I like this idea of confetti time, these little tiny tasks where, you know, you could interrupt your big moment with your family to go, oh, I got to make this call to schedule this appointment, or I have to take care of this one little thing. Instead, write those down. And when you've got these little 3-minute, 5-minute pieces of time, use that for those little tasks. You can stay present in the moment. It's so easy, OG, I think, in the age of our phone to get distracted and to realize this isn't productivity for productivity's sake. This is productivity so that we actually get to enjoy the people that are around us. I mean, you're right in the middle of this. You got one kid who's already left for college, and I bet it feels like...
What? What were you saying? Feels like what?
Can we get the other two out of here as quickly as possible?
I know.
But it does go fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is fun when they're all home for a little while.
For like 20 minutes.
When was the last time that you took a walk without your phone or AirPods? Try that.
It is not that often, but I really have found lately that I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. In fact, it's funny. I run with AirPods and I'm training for this last marathon. And so I'm spending a lot of time with AirPods on, and sometimes during my run, I'll just shut it off. And I'm like, this is so refreshing.
Quiet.
Let's move on to our headline.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamin's headlines.
Our headline today comes to us from the Washington Post. Doug, you actually forwarded this one to us, so thank you, brother, for this. This is written by Shannon Najmabadi. Shannon writes, Jocelyn Combs set up a filing box with her will and trust. She is a designated who will have power of attorney, told friends and family where to find her passwords, and began culling her possessions, save for mementos and other items she set aside for her daughter. It's all part of her aging plan, drawn from the often overwhelming experience of caring for her own parents, who both live in their 90s, and one, Legacy, the 76-year-old's adamant about sparing her only child. So here's what she did, OG. Taking care of her parents was a pain in the ass. And she had a ton of cleanup afterwards. And she's like, I'm not going to leave it the same way later on. And what she's found, and I'll link to this piece in our show notes, she's actually found it's easier for her to live because of the fact that she's not stumbling over all these mementos that nobody cares about but her, right? When she passes away, people aren't going to go, wow, that's the medal she won when she was in 3rd grade. Like, that's incredible. This stuff is probably going to be thrown away later. Why not do all the cleanup today?
Well, clearly this person is a rational human because, and hasn't met anybody in my family, because everyone in my family seems to think that everything that they think is important is also things that we must think are important. And how dare you not think that this 3rd grade medal is important, because it was important to me, despite the fact that it's been in a box since '07 and no one's even known it existed until we opened the box. And then it became this world-class memento that we have to hang on to for all time.
It's so frustrating. Combs, the woman in this piece, says the emotional toll, the financial toll, all of it. And I was like, financial toll? Well, the amount of time that she had to spend, OG, away from work, taking time off, the amount of help she had to have to clean out things. You know, if my mom thought this was important, can I throw it away? Like, can I, if she thought it was important enough to keep, can I throw it away?
Yeah.
And so then she ends up with boxes all over her house.
I mean, obviously, it's easy to think about all of the stuff that somebody accumulates over a lifetime. And what do we do with the medals and the Yadro figurines and the china that nobody really wants anymore? It's not part of today's lifestyle. But I think the bigger piece of what the author is talking about are maybe some of the big foundational pillars to get in order. And it's not just will. A lot of people just really focus on the will, I think. And we think that is the biggest piece of it. But there's so many other things that are going to impact you and your care later in life before you pass that would be really helpful to your kids to get in order, and not just living trusts and things, but also how you want to live out your life. I think it's important to maybe document how you want to live out your final years, whether that's 5 or 10 or 2, whether or not you want to be in an assisted living facility, and how you want to execute that, because you may get to a point in your life where you're not thinking clearly. It happens to a lot of older people. And having something documented for both you to look back on and be able to be reminded, oh yeah, that is what I thought. You can maybe still change your mind, but at least to have that as a reminder for what made sense to you when you were, in your 70s, and you can look back 10 years later and say, oh yeah, that is a good idea. And I thought of that, and I'm in control of my future.
Well, specifically, what are you pointing toward? Because you said you're not pointing toward just living will or, patient advocate designations, which is somebody to deal with doctors on your behalf, or a power of attorney, somebody that can handle your financial stuff.
Yeah.
Are you speaking to even more documentation than that?
Well, I don't know about from a documentation standpoint, but like from a legal documentation standpoint, but yeah, power of attorney is huge. Power of healthcare is huge, and have that noted down and get it enacted, get it activated, because I know somebody who has the documents drafted, but they haven't signed it. And now they're not mentally well enough probably to sign those. And there's ways to get around that, but it becomes a major hassle.
Oh, gee, you're nodding your head. You must have seen this before.
Well, I've not known anybody that this has happened to, but what Doug's talking about here is all of the things that are beyond just the estate plan. We think about an estate plan as, okay, cool. I figured out who I want my stuff to go to. And I looked at that one time, and hopefully I signed it. Hopefully I did that stuff, but that's done. So I'm done with that. But the reality is that there's so much more to it beyond just the money. It's like, how do I want this stuff to be used? Whether it's money, whether it's the property, whether it's how do I want to be taken care of? What are the non-negotiables? Like a lot of people have I want to live in my house. Like, I don't want to go live at a nursing home facility or whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, that's cool. But if your bedroom is upstairs and you can't walk upstairs anymore, then what? You're going to sleep on the couch? Like, that doesn't, you need somebody in your life that's going to be able to challenge you on this and find the what ifs and find the holes in your logic when you're in your 70s, not when you're like faced with the decision and all of the stress and the emotion. And then the people who you're empowering to make the decision for you, that's not an easy time for them either. It's, obviously the running joke is like, I can't wait to put mom in the nursing home or, whatever. I told the story one time about when we did our estate plan, and this was before I was married, and the estate planning attorney sent a letter to everybody listed. And one of the notes went to my brother. My brother called me and he says, what's this for? And I said, well, it's in case I need the medical decisions, you got to make those end of life decisions. If I'm in an accident, I can't put this on mom. You're the one that gets to pull the plug or has to pull the plug. And he goes, okay. So when do I get to do that? And I was, 25. That's a funny joke. It's not as funny when you're you're literally having to deal with that, and you haven't talked about how you want that to go. So your estate plan is not just the money. It's all the other sort of stuff, from the little tchotchkes that you have in your china cabinet to all of your wishes around living and healthcare and all that sort of stuff.
Well, and I also think, guys, that all this pre-death planning is super important. Listen to this from further down in this piece. More people are expected to shoulder caregiving duties as baby boomers, those born between 46 and 64. Age and lifespans increase. The number of Americans 65 and older is projected to increase more than 30%. It's going to increase more than 30% by 2050, with these older adults making up 1 in 4 Americans by then, compared with about 1 in 10. So if you think this isn't going to happen to you, you are mistaken.
Right.
Much better chance.
Just got done talking about how my wife's grandpa's 99. Like, the amount of care, he's very independent, but the amount of care that my mother-in-law is providing him is far beyond. And I think this is the point of the piece. It's far beyond what I want to do for my mother-in-law, or my mom for that matter. And so it's like, okay, I see what you're doing. I don't want to be doing that. Not because I don't care for you, but that's just not a thing that I have any expertise in. And we need to solve this now while you're 70 and I'm 50, not when you're 99 and I'm 70.
A recent AARP study showed about half the caregivers that answered their survey reported financial hardships, including lost income due to depleted savings because of all those responsibilities, OG, you're talking about. Doug, you had more.
Well, I also think that the example you talked about your 99-year-old grandfather sounds still mentally pretty sharp. But I think the vast majority of people are going to get to a point where they're not making decisions clearly, because you just lose your mental faculties. And it could be, for some people, it can happen in their 60s, and some people it can happen in their 80s, but it's almost certainly going to happen to more people than it's not going to happen to.
Especially as we live longer.
Yeah. And so, having just a vague conversation with your kids about, I'd like to go into this kind of assisted living, or I don't want to go assisted living, I want to be at my house. That all is great when it's a casual conversation. When it comes time to actually do that, because your kids are like, you know what, Dad can't safely cook for himself anymore, because we don't know what's going to happen with the stove or the oven, or, might trip on the rugs in his house or whatever. Your kids want to have that conversation with you, and you're not going to answer that in a realistic, pragmatic, kind of self-aware kind of way, because you're losing your mental capabilities and you don't realize it. And so trying to button that up as much as you can, whether it's on paper or on video or something, so that you can be reminded of decisions you were making. If your goal is to try to make life as easy as possible as your kids try to care for you, this is a component beyond just the documents and the financial aspect of it. Because if you're going to push back, that's where the real family trouble comes from.
I do want to go back to even before that. I'm power of attorney for a family member who has a lot of stuff. And I know, OG, you are as well. And just the thought of what I'm going to go through, sifting through all of their stuff. And even though 90% of it is going to go someplace else, 99% of it's probably going to go away. I love the fact that this talks about taking care of not just, Doug, the big heady stuff that you're talking about, but also even these little things. I look at these. I ran in high school and in college. I was going through my medals the other day.
Scoreboard.
My kids aren't going to want to keep these medals. Like they're going to, oh, look, the Gull Lake Invitational. Joe took first place when he was in 10th grade. Like, it doesn't mean anything to them, right? So do I keep it around in a box that I don't even look at? Yeah. Or do I dump it today? So from the huge things that Doug's talking about and the communication aspects to even just going through your closets and going, am I even looking at this? Is this something that I'm going to want to keep around? And by the way, I've got another family member dealing with this right now where his dad passed away, and nobody, Doug, to your point, nobody really has a backbone to challenge mom as she's going against her deceased husband's wishes, because mom can't say no. People are requesting stuff of mom that was dad's, and dad had specifically said, I want this to go to X person. And somebody else in the family comes up and goes, hey, I really want that thing that was promised to somebody else. And mom goes, yeah, I guess you could probably take it. Like, somebody's got to be in there with a backbone to kind of challenge their thinking, which I know is difficult. There's a great interview we did with Cameron Huddleston. You know what? I'm going to run it during Greatest Hits Week in a few weeks as well. It's called Mom and Dad, We Need to Talk. And Cameron went through all of this with her aging mom. As mom, Doug, as you were kind of talking, it just reminded me of Cameron's story. Mom started saying things that weren't making sense. And Cameron luckily realized fairly early that mom's dementia was coming on quickly. And so how do you have these difficult conversations? We'll also link to that. And if you want to dive into more of these topics, our 201 is a great resource. We give you the 101, the headline, and really get you thinking about it here on the show. If you want to dive more, Kevin Bailey does all the research to find the best curated links online to topics like this. stackingbenjamins.com/201 signs you up. And also, if you're on the 201 newsletter, then you can find out where we're headed. I'll be back the first week of March in, drum roll, in Seattle, Washington again. I'll be speaking at Retire Meet. So we have to do another Stacker meetup in Seattle. Of course, we have our meetup group there. I'll also be in Omaha helping our friend David Gillis with the 1% Better conference. So Omaha Stackers, watch out because we're going to have a fun meetup there. stackingbenjamins.com/201 gets you to that and more. Hey, guess what, guys? We got a letter.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Our letter today comes from Daniel. Daniel writes, recently I've been seeing several posts about the Mar-a-Lago Accord on social media feeds. I understand those are mostly clickbait videos in post. By the way, before we move on, I got to talk about what the Mar-a-Lago Accord is because I don't pay a lot of attention to social media. The Mar-a-Lago Accord, for people who don't know, is a proposed economic strategy aimed at addressing the overvaluation of the U.S. dollar and correcting the trade deficit. Draws inspiration from the 1985 Plaza Accord, which aimed to weaken the dollar through coordinated efforts among major economies. The accord suggests that a coordinated approach involving the U.S., Europe, and other nations could lead to a weaker dollar, making American exports more competitive and reducing reliance on imports. Key elements include boosting American manufacturing and exports to enhance economic competitiveness, weakening the dollar through tariffs and other measures to reduce trade imbalances, encouraging foreign central banks to reduce their holdings of U.S. treasuries to weaken the dollar. So basically making American manufacturing and American products stronger. So that is what he's referring to for people that don't know what the Mar-a-Lago Accord is. So he's been seeing several posts about this. He says he understands they're mostly clickbait. He says this. However, they all have a common theme of devaluing the U.S. dollar by as much as 40% in order to restructure the national debt. Like the 1985 Plaza Accord, the current administration seems to be following the blueprint, beginning with multiple tariffs. Whether their plan is flawed or misguided, as I've been reading, it's hard to discount the possibility of losing almost half of what we worked so hard to build. So if the administration succeeds even partially, what can we do to counter and protect our investments in retirement? Is investing in gold and precious metals, ETFs enough? Should equities focus on dividend stocks to get more today? Should we hold foreign currencies in a foreign bank account or invest in foreign economies? I'd really like to hear Joe and OG's opinion. Daniel, on one end, let me first say, number one is that our show doesn't focus on politics. So we're not going to get into politically. This is why we don't have economists on very often, because economist often comes down to politics, which gets into you think this, I think that. Our show is firmly structured on what you do with this once things happen. So what can we do individually? And I know that's part of your question, right? Is, hey, if we see these tariffs working, OG, and we see the dollar becoming weaker, is a counter to that to invest in things like precious metals?
I think it's going to sound like a broken record, which is when you own all of the companies that are run by the smartest people in the world, all of them at the same time, you largely are excused from all of this. Take away whatever you think might happen because of some economic change or whatever. But let's just take something simple like sugar. If all of a sudden, for some reason, the world decided that, or even just a small part of the economy decided that we can't have sugar anymore in soft drinks. Do you think in that moment that the folks at Coca-Cola or Pepsi just go, oh well, been a good run, everybody. just pack it up, get a box. Let's go. We're done. We're out of here. Well, of course not. They will pivot to whatever it is that they can do to be productive within the new rules that exist. And you see this in all sorts of different areas of the economy. Look at oil and renewable energy and natural gas and, just the energy sector. I know you said no politics, Joe, but there's a trend in policy based on what kind of administration there is. And yet BP and Exxon and Valero and all these companies, they seem to continue to make money.
Find a way.
They go, oh, we can't do that anymore, or that's too cost prohibitive. We're going to do this instead. They don't just pack their stuff up and go home and take their ball and bat and say, well, it's been a good ride. So by owning the global economy, you're not, I feel like some people hear the word stock ownership and they think of like, I've got this, you use that, thing. I've got a stock.
The certificate that you frame and put on the wall.
I think you need to reframe that. When you own a stock, you own a piece of a company that's operating for profit and is run by people whose largely their compensation is derived by the amount of profit that they make. This is the perfect science that is stock ownership. And it's jacked up, but it's cool also. You are hoping that the people at Coke and Apple and Amazon are so enraged by their own greed that the only thing they can think of is how to make money for their company. And if you put a bunch of those people together in your portfolio and you own little teeny tiny bits of all those companies, you benefit from the fact that they all are greedy SOBs who just want to make more money for themselves. And you get a byproduct of that. And maybe it's a little cynical way of looking at it, but don't look at stock ownership as I have this mythical piece of paper or this line item on my brokerage account. You are owning an operating business that has customers, that has pricing power, that has, revenue streams internationally. And they're looking at it and saying, okay, with all these different changes that happen or all these different rules that happen in different places, like how can we still be successful within these changes that happen?
I'm going to look at this, OG, another way as well, which I want to go back to another basic. I love the basic of owning the companies that create this stuff, right? I think another tack to take here too is basic Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of his 7 habits is when you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other end of the stick. So Daniel's talking about avoiding some pain, but then he gives you some ideas about how he would fix that pain. And if we went to 1985, which is the point that he talks about, the 1985 Plaza Accord, if you had taken these moves in 1985, we have history to show you what happened if you took the moves that he's talking about at that time. So number one is owning investments in gold and precious metals enough? If you bought precious metals in 1985 versus owning stocks from 1985 to today, there's a clear winner. There's a big time winner. And it wasn't precious metals. So
off the top of my head, just to kind of give you this idea, I'm not going to look it up so somebody else can. But off the top of my head, I think the number that I remember is 1980. I think since 1980, gold is up 4x since then, give or take 400% 4x, right? Stocks are up 67x. It's not even in the ballpark. It's not even remotely close. And by the way, the gold that you bought in 1980 didn't do anything from 1980 till present. Like it just literally sat there and collected dust. Meanwhile, your stocks paid you a rising dividend stream of income over that 50 years. But carry on.
And so then his next idea is, should equities focus on dividend stocks? A dividend stock strategy is fine. But
it's all return. And I love having a little bit of these conversations because there's no right or wrong way to look at stock return. But if you're like, I want to focus on dividends. Okay, cool. Whatever. It's return. It's return of profit. To have dividends paid to you, the company needs to make a profit. So you got to think about this again, like a big giant organization. The company makes money. You're owner of that company. So they have to decide what they do with the profit of the money that they make. Sometimes they say, hey, let's pay some of this out to our shareholders. Sometimes they say, hey, let's build another factory. Sometimes they go, hey, we think our stock is underpriced. Let's buy back some of our own stock, thereby reducing the available shares outstanding to other people. So the price goes up. We can do that. We can give ourselves bonuses. We can, there's all sorts of things that you can do when you have excess money. It's just like what you do at home. At the end of the day, you budget your stuff out and and you go, oh, I've got extra money. What should I do? Oh, I should take a little trip. I should do something for me. I should buy something that adds to my value later. I'm going to buy a rental property. I'm going to buy another company with some of my excess money. I'm going to consume it frivolously because I feel like it. Like that's an option too, right? And we all do some of those things, just like the boards of these companies do. They just do it with a whole bunch of commas and zeros that we don't have on our own personal balance sheets. They're in charge of other bigger dollar amounts. So it's the same thing, just out there, in advance. But
and I think if it's dividends only, though, you're giving up companies there are going to be winners in every environment. And what you're going to get with the dividend strategy is companies that are making some hay today, but you're also not thinking about the future, and companies that are going, those companies, OG, that find a way. It's a different type of getting a return, but it's a return that is much more of a growth oriented strategy. Somebody's going to grow in every economy. Somebody's going to sink. Somebody's going to grow. That's capitalism, right?
You can only spend the same dollar once. So if you make $100 profit and you say, oh, I would like to distribute that to all my shareholders. Well, that's a dividend. Or I make $100 of profit and I say, I think with my $100 of profit, I can reinvest that and next year make $200 of profit. That's a different way of doing it. You get the same return as an investor. You still made $100. Sometimes you got cash back and sometimes you got share price back. It's tomato, tomato.
And then last, holding foreign currencies in a foreign bank account. You're trading, Daniel, one set of problems for another set of problems. And to
that
get
sounds
away
like the worst idea.
Well, to get away from this issue, you have no idea what you're jumping into. A lot of people jump out away from problems and they don't even know where they're jumping toward. If you go into the EU, as an example, you get a whole different host of problems that you don't have in the United States. Those people are freaking out, going, hey, should I be someplace else because of all the problems going on here? If I'm in India, I'm thinking that. If I'm in UK, I'm thinking that. It doesn't matter where you're at, you're thinking about getting out because of all the fears that you have today. So I think what's interesting is the strategy that got you there in 1985, when that was the focus, is the same strategy that got you through 1995, that got you through 2005. It was the same drumbeat. And I love the fact that you acknowledge, Daniel, that it's clickbait and it's made to make you think, what if? It is.
Well, I think that was the last piece that I was going to talk about real quick was if you subscribe to the theory that all information is known by all market participants equally. That's processed differently, but there is no like first mover advantage anymore, right? And with technology, no company can issue their earnings report and somebody gets it faster than somebody else unless they cheat, which I also acknowledge happens sometimes. But for normal market participation, all of this is known. By the time that it gets to TikTok and is so prevalent on TikTok or whatever your social media addiction of choice is, that it's showing up in your thing. First of all, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, by the way, right? So we all know that. When you look at something on Instagram, it shows up 500 times in a row because they go, you must be interested in this. So you're going to see that over and over again. Secondly, by the time it gets there, the people who can do something about this or who are thinking about this, the easy, quote unquote, easy money on that has already been made. Like the hedge fund guy, on Monday, we were talking about the 1% investing, right? Like, how do I invest like the guy who, Ray Dalio, he doesn't do his company anymore, but Seth Klarma, like if this was an issue that they thought of, they dealt with it, solved it, and have already invested for this already. It's priced in. It's so funny to me when the Fed changes rates or the XYZ company has earnings report and they go, wow, those earnings were better than expected and the stock went down. Like, why did that happen? Because everyone already priced that in.
It's priced.
They already knew that.
They knew.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to make this any more complicated. You, me, Daniel, we're not going to get the insider info.
But it doesn't even have to be insider info, OG. Let me give you an example. Back from the 1990s, I remember Ford was coming out with earnings. And the week before earnings, Ford announced that they were starting up a couple new lines and they were making a new car. And it was funny because I was meeting with an asset manager. He's like, this isn't inside information. A company doesn't do that the week before earnings if the earnings aren't going to be strong.
Yeah.
Because if the earnings are going to be weak, you're not going to get the questions from everybody, from all your investors going, why the hell are you introducing new crap when your existing stuff isn't even, well, like, what are you doing? He's like, companies will telegraph it through their actions.
Sure.
They will tell you what they're thinking. It's not, it doesn't have to be insider trading.
These investment companies and, professional, like they have buildings full of people who just sit there and think about this stuff. One person, not even one person, more like a cubicle island full of people. All they do is think about Ford in your example. And they go, well, did you see this? Oh, look at this number. Oh, look at this. I heard
what
that.
What are they thinking here? What's going on there?
And they're putting all this together and creating an investment thesis that the fund manager or, whatever, arguably most of us just buy index funds now. But, at the time, we're making investment decisions based on like a whole floor full of people's opinions and research.
But you're buying index funds because they have a team that you're competing against if you don't.
Yes. And that's my point. So it's like, hold on, I read this thing on Instagram. It's like, dude, no,
it's gone.
You're so far behind.
Yeah.
The good news with all of this, and this isn't my favorite thing to talk about because it comes off very snarky, comes off very condescending to people who are listening to the show for the first time and don't know OG. But here's the great news with all of this. You don't putting velvet on the hammer or something. I don't know. The good news in all of this is the power of investing your money and just being diversified and investing and never thinking about it, is you don't have to think about this stuff. If you believe so strongly in the market as a self-fulfilling, self-clearing, self-cleaning process, and by owning all of the stuff, you get all the return of all the companies all the time, then you don't have to care about this because you recognize that you have this great order of magnitude bigger than you economy, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars working for you. So you don't have to look at this and worry about it because if it does happen, it's going to be accounted for in your portfolio. If it doesn't happen, it's accounted for in your portfolio. Free yourself, Daniel. Free yourself from worrying about this stuff. Go watch golf instructional videos. Those are way more fun to if my back is like this and my shoulders like this.
Because you can control that.
Yes, you can. Well, you can pretend to control that.
Daniel, that's why I'm so glad you wrote us with this, because I know there's a lot of people that worry about this stuff. And I'm glad that you gave us an opportunity to dive in and tackle it head on here early in 2026. So you can spend your time, focused on all the stuff Laura Vanderkam talked about, free up more time to spend.
Take like swim lessons or something.
The golf swing.
My kid said, speaking of marathons, Joe, my middle kid said the other day, I don't think running a triathlon would be that hard.
Oh boy.
And I said, well, completing it in an unlimited time. Yes, but you have a time limit and so on and so forth. And he's like, I think the swimming would probably be the easiest. He said, how hard can it be to swim 2.5 miles?
Which is funny because a friend of mine, John, and I used to volunteer at a local triathlon. And John was the guy that went out in the boat, and he would go about 400 yards from the shore to give people what he called, OG, an $85 boat ride, which was people would swim 400 yards. They freak out because there's so many feet in their face and people kicking them and stuff. And they would panic and they would go to the boat and just go, I'm done. And they would finish after 400 yards of swimming. They were done. And he would give them an $85 boat ride, which meant the $85 they spent to sign up for the triathlon, they got a boat ride for that.
Free boat ride.
Daniel, thank you so much. You got a note for us? You know what? Call in because Anna's joining us very soon for our monthly call-in show, stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail. And you will also get some swag if you call in and participate in that. So stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail gets you there. Time for a very quick back porch. We like to celebrate our community, talk about stuff going on in the community. Doug, I got one thing before we turn it over to you. which is we have these wonderful guides that we produce, our tax guide, our HR guide, the guide to your benefits, our college planning guide. If you are new to this show, in these guides, we update them every single month so that you know that they are always ready for you. They're always up to date. If you missed our email that just went out to you on these, all of the numbers, our January update, all of the numbers have been updated to 2026 numbers in all the guides. So 2025 put to bed, 2026 is out there. To learn more about the tax guide, the benefits guide, the college planning guide, whatever the topic is, stackingbenjamins.com/guides, and you'll see all of them.
So what, you had Cooper the cat go change the 5 in 2025 to a 6?
We had to unfortunately change the numbers after that about what the new maximums were, how much you can put in your Roth IRA as an example.
Oh, so it's not just like you said, we updated all the numbers from 2025 to 2026. I'm like, seriously, dude, that's what you're calling an update? You just changed the year number?
Select all, replace all.
Yeah,
that's right. It was super hard it was super
Break
hard.
a sweat this month, Joe?
It was so hard. Actually, it's much more like a needle in a haystack as you're making sure you got every single one of them. But that's all been updated this month. Big changes coming next month, too. I can't tell you what those are, but those are coming. Doug, you've got some more from the community.
I do, yeah. We've gotten a number of really nice reviews, kind of second half of December. Still looking for more here in January in 2026, because we like to have the numbers updated, as Joe says. We got a lot of great ones, and I'm going to read one or two here, quick ones. I don't think anything really has topped yet Sizzler Stuffed, who renamed the show the NDS Show. I mean,
no. Really?
I'm still a little bitter that in the feed, it doesn't now show up as the NDS Show or the name.
Oh, I remember that one. No, I remember. I thought somebody, I see where you're going with this.
Right. But Catalunchapult came pretty close. That's a great name, by the way, Catalunchapult. It says, never miss an episode. 5 stars. My favorite podcast on the interweb. Great combination of humor and money talk. Love the style and format. Keep them coming, fellas. Thanks, Catalunchapult.
Thank you. That is so nice, and they will be coming fast and furious. We've got, well, I can't even share that. We got some good stuff coming. Let's just put it that way.
Joe, just one more real fast. Team Tag said, love the show. Was just recommending over Christmas to my adult nephew to follow you guys. That's from Team
great.
Tag. 5 stars. Thanks, Team Tag.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the magic of stacking Benjamins, helping other people stack Benjamins. By the way, the gift of flattery is so nice. We just found out that there is a podcast that it's AI. It's got to be AI. There's a new Stacking Benjamins. So if you lead people there and they find a daily show, we're about to unleash some hurt on this ripoff.
Our team of lawyers getting involved?
Yeah, there is not even our lawyers, a little company called Cumulus, which we're on their network.
Oh, now you've done it.
And it's funny. They don't tell you who they are. There's a person who sounds very human, but never makes a speech mistake ever. And it's a daily show. Somebody cranking out a daily AI made podcast, which is, by the way, selling crap. You get to the end of it and it's selling you.
Am I as charming on that show as I am on this show?
Oh, you don't even make that. None of us make that show. It is just one dude who never identifies himself talking about stuff. And it's called Stacking Benjamins. And by the way, they've stolen a lot of the description of the show from us as well. So thank you, scammers. That's why we created the vault, stackingbenjamins.com/vault. Because if that's happening in your personal life, the vault will help you with that. All right. That's going to do it for today. Thank you so much, everybody. Please, if somebody needs to hear either of these discussions today, either the discussion about getting your life in order, Laura Vanderkam, so great at that, or the discussion about taking care of your elder planning, so important to get those done. So please pass that on. I'm going to pass this on to Doug. Doug, what should we have learned on today's show?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from Laura Vanderkam. The goal isn't to optimize every second to do more toward some nothing productivity goal. It's to be more present and enjoy yourself while still achieving more than you thought possible. Let's make that our goal for 2026, shall we? Second, managing money for family members. Remember to take care of yourself first, or you won't be able to help your relatives and friends much. And you'll make life easier for everyone else if you take care of your financial life too. But the big lesson, hit a appears I owe an apology to Pope Gregory XIII. It turns out our calendar was named after him. He didn't call it the Gregorian calendar. It was named after him. That's a bummer, though, because I really like the idea of a Dougian trivia. It's got a ring to it, don't you think? Thanks to Laura Vanderkam for joining us to kick off 2026. Listen to Laura's Best of Both Worlds podcast whenever you're listening to us right now. Wait, you can't do that. Whenever. No, wherever. Probably that's better. Do that. Still listen to us, but then go find Laura's Best of Both Worlds wherever you listen to us. We'll link to her books in our show notes as well, and it sounds like you'll be hearing from her later this year right here on Stacking Benjamins. I can't wait. This show is the property of SB Podcast, LLC, copyright 2026, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. And oh yeah, before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.